Paul? I just wanted to do that. All right. I'm going to skip around. I now call the El Reno City Council regular meeting of Tuesday, February 13th, 2018 to order. We'll start with a roll call vote with Vice Mayor Cronister. Here.
Councilman Ballhorn.
Here.
Councilman Robinson.
Here.
Councilwoman Ryder.
Here.
Mayor White.
Yes? All right. Before we go, is there any deletions, continuances to the agenda at the time? Before we start, Paul, why don't you come on up? We'll go ahead and get you this whole thing out of the way. Paul, would you mind coming on up and leading us in a word of prayer? Please stand.
I want to thank all of you for your service you're giving our city. We pray for you all the time. Heavenly Father, we just first want to thank you for all that you have done for us in our lives. We thank you, Father, for the freedoms that you have brought us personally and each individual. But we thank you for the freedoms in this country that we live in. And Father, the freedom to make choice and decisions. We thank these people, Father, that are leading our community and making decisions about our people, because every decision they make affects all of our people. We thank you for our city we live in, Father. It's a good city. And Father, we ask your blessings upon it. And Father, your blessings upon our life. Father, we are covenant people. And Father, we have covenant rights. And Lord, you bless those. And in Jesus' name we thank you. Amen and amen.
Amen. Join me in the flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Paul, tell us what's going on up there at the church.
Well, just loving our new building, going on, and just doing good things for the Lord. Blessing Baptist is going great. We helped 1,900 people this past year, and expecting more next year. So we're just growing it all around.
Paul, you tell us how much we appreciate us, but we really appreciate you all. And everybody up here at this council and all the staff knows how much you and all the team works on Blessed Baskets, and just you and your individual church too. So thank you so much.
It's a real community thing.
It's good.
The community, it
Works
is.
out great, doesn't
Yeah.
it, Paul?
Yeah, it does.
Thank you. And tell Sam
Paul.
we said hi.
Okay.
All right, we're going to go to item 7, and then I'm going to take a recess out of that, and then we'll come back. But our auditors are here, and I want to get them out of the way. They have another meeting they have to go to, so we're going to accommodate them since they're kind of in charge of letting us conduct business or not. So we're going to go ahead and make sure they're happy. So I'm going to go to item number 7. Discussion, consideration, possible action regarding presentation of the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017, financial statements, independent auditor's report, and a single audit report.
Okay.
State your name and tell us
I'm
everything
Jim
about.
Denton. I'm the managing partner with Arledge and Associates. I think I've been here a couple other times, so good to see everybody. What I'm going to do is go through a letter here that there's a 2-page letter that you should have. Actually, it's a 3-page letter. Sorry, had a final paragraph on that last page. I'm going to go down through that. Those are the things I'm required to tell you. And first of all, another thing I'm required to tell you is to thank Marcia and Karen for all their work, and Dan and the group here, and we always appreciate what they do. And you can't do an audit without a good client and working on the stuff that we need to have for the audit. So let me go through this letter. And the first thing I want to say is that an audit of this type is not an audit for fraud or internal control, but it's an audit on the fairness of the financial statements. I want to be real clear about that. If there was any fraud we were to encounter, of course we'd report that. If there was any internal control problem that was glaring that we encountered that kept financial statements from being correct, then we'd for sure let you know about that. But management's responsible for the selection and use of appropriate accounting policies, and those are described in your financial statements. No new policies were adopted we noted no transactions entered into by the city for which there's a lack of authoritative guidance or consensus. All significant transactions have been recorded and recognized in the financial statements. The next thing is accounting estimates. You have to do estimates when you do accounting because there are certain things that don't lend themselves to just actual transactions. So these estimates are listed there in that letter. One is the accounts, the allowance for doubtful accounts. You have to determine what accounts there are that may not be able to be collected. Workers' comp claims, you have to use historical information in order to determine the liability on that. And then as well as pension information is based on actuarial studies. So those are your three big estimates that you're going to have. Then the certain disclosures are sensitive, and probably the one that's most sensitive to you is the commitments and contingencies discussed in Note 12 of the financial statements. So you've got that. We believe the financial statements are neutral, consistent, and clear. We didn't encounter any difficulties in dealing with management or performing our audit. There were no corrected or uncorrected misstatements in the financial statements in performing our procedures for the audit. There were no disagreements with management. Management gave us a representation letter dated February 2nd, and there were also other consultants involved in the Crawford and Associates firm. You'll hear from Frankie here in a minute. Is a CPA firm, and that they consulted, but there was nothing that they consulted with the city that were having any effect on our opinion on the financial statements. The last couple of paragraphs here have to deal with other supplemental information and required supplemental information that's included in the financial statements, and our responsibility for those are discussed there. We also issued what's called single audit reports, and it's in a separate binding here. And this separate binding is what satisfies the federal government as it relates to your federal money. And we're pleased to report there are no findings in that document. So it's a clean report. Our report that's contained in these financial statements is a clean opinion. And that's in there, and you're free to read that. And this is a great resource for you come budget time, and you can look and see what the expenditures are for specific funds. It gives you lots of good information as it relates to that. Lastly, thank you for your business. We appreciate our relationship with the city and your dedication to doing what's right here in this community. So thank you so much.
Jim, got a couple questions for you.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask the main questions. Good clean audit?
Yes.
No problems?
No problems?
Good clean audit? No internal systems that we found, anything
No.
else as far as anything else? We've been doing this together for the last, I think, 3 or 4 years. Is that about right, Marcia? So we really appreciate your business, and we appreciate you all going thoroughly through there. The liabilities, I've met with them, the auditors, went over everything with staff. We've gone over everything together. If you all have any questions, we'll go on to Frank's, Frank's is a little bit more simpler that we like to do, Bob. I think we talked about this last time. But Jim, we appreciate you so much. Any other questions of Jim?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you. Frank?
Thank you, Mayor. Frank Crawford with Crawford and Associates. I'm kind of a little hobbled here, so
Yeah, you
bear
look
with
a
me.
little handicapped there.
Yeah, I'm not very comfortable in this sling.
Yeah, no.
So shoulder surgery from a nice little ski accident. So skied 35 years, never had an accident, and now I'm in a sling. So very quickly, we help the city throughout the year with accounting matters and other issues that relate to finance, in addition to helping put together those annual financial statements that then Arledge audits. One of the things that we also do is what we call this performator, which The simplest way to describe the performator is instead of reading the 84 pages of the audit and trying to decipher what that actually means, we literally take all the financial statements and we run it through a software that we've developed, a program that we've developed that literally rates your scale of financial health and success on a scale of 1 to 10, so that every year I can stand in front of you and say, here's your score this year, and you can actually look and then see what the score was the year before and the year before, and see the 20 or so ratios that we look at in order to determine this. So this is about a 20-page report. I'm not going to go through it all, but it's a very simple report to read, much easier to read than the audit. But I will point out a couple of pages that I want you to look at. And the first one that I would like you to look at is on page 5, I believe. And that's the overall score on page 5. There's about 3 ways you could read this report. You can look at the pictures on the left on the scale of a graph or a chart. You can read the narrative on the right. Or if you're more of a red, yellow, green stoplight person, you can kind of look in the top right corner and see which ratios are rated high and which ones are rated low. Your overall score for this year is a 7.1. That's actually a very good score. It's a little bit less than what it was the year before, but out of all of the factors that we looked at, there was one big factor that kind of drove that score down a little bit, which was rather than increasing your sales tax collections last year, we had a little bit of a decrease. We were up against a pretty significant year, however, so the score, if you look at it over a 3-year period, has been right in the low 7s and has been very consistent. About the highest score we've seen is probably somewhere in the lower 8s, so you can't really score beyond an 8.5 on this model without really just being in an extremely unique situation. So a score of 7.1 is probably on the higher end of above average that we see for at least Oklahoma governments. We also measure 11 international governments. We measure counties and state governments and other cities in other states, including Texas and Illinois and Indiana. So this is still one of the better scores. Lower 7s, mid 7s is always a good score. But the one decline was related to sales tax this year, and that's why the score went down a little bit.
But Frank, it's on the incline now, so that will adjust. And we'll leverage out because the last couple of months, we've had an increase that's been significantly up. So I think when you come back next year, it'll be that way. But don't forget, like Frank said, we're on the high side. We've had some pretty competitive years that we're trying to compare ourselves to. Yeah.
This is for the year that ended last.
That's right. This
Right,
ended
like that,
June
last
30
year,
of 17. So we've got, a good 8 months now of data,
yeah.
which your sales tax has completely blown
What we did last year.
blown away what was done last year. So I would imagine that if you hold the other factors consistent, that this is going to rebound and go actually the other
The other
direction.
direction.
On slide 19, which is a page that's way far in the back, you can actually see the sales tax growth or decline over the last 4 or 5 years. I just put that in there just so you can kind of see how it got rated this year. Notice it's in the red because it was a decline, but notice how it had grown over the last several years and then just slightly declined in that year. So each one of these factors we kind of weight and score on a scale of 1 to 10 so that ultimately at the end of this process I can come to you and say you're a 7.1. You can see what your score was in the last 4 or 5 years, and then later on read about some individual ratios, but only just a few I'll point out, including the one that we just talked about. The next 2 I'll talk about are pages 7 and 8, which talk about what we call our level of unrestricted net position. We've got about 36% of our unrestricted net position basically saved up in a situation where if we need to go to some reserves in order to use some money, we've got a little bit there. About 36% of our annual revenue stream in an unrestricted capacity, which means we also have a lot of funds in a restricted capacity too. So sometimes we collect funds where we are limited on what we can do with those funds. And so even though that shows up in our cash balances, it's not money you can simply just spend on everything. So some of your money have restrictions on them, some of them don't have restrictions. On page 8, this is an analysis of the carryover of your main fund, the general fund. And what we like to see here is about 10% of your annual revenue stream at a minimum kind of carry over every year as a reserve. because we think that, you know, in any 1 month, you can see a 10% decline in something and you've got to still be able to meet cash flow purposes. You're hovering right around 12%. You were really dangerously low the year before. You'd gotten all the way down to about 3% after a 5-year decline, as you can kind of see on page 8. So we've now recovered that a little bit and got up above that 10% minimum. That's probably one I would pay a little bit of attention to, because that's a cash flow issue, and the general fund ends up being that prime operating fund of the city. So it's a little bit healthier, but overall the score, really, you know, 7.4 to a 7.1 is not so much of a decline. It's still pretty high, but the sales tax declining in that 1 year is probably what took that score down just a little bit. So holding everything constant, I would expect we would see a rebound up into the upper 7s if the sales tax is doing what I think it's doing everywhere else, if it's doing it here too. So with that, I'll take any questions, or at any other time you want to have me back to talk some more about this. If you get a chance to take it home and read it, I'll be more than happy to meet with you as a group or individually. So just let me know after you've had a chance to digest it, if you have any questions.
Any other questions? Frank, I want to thank Jim, Frank, and I also want to make sure, and I know this wouldn't work, and I know you two gentlemen would totally agree, our city staff is impeccable about this. Your auditors are great. They're in and out. They're out of our way. This is a twofold system where there's two basically audits going on to check and balance, which is a good system. I think we just went to this. It wasn't like this in the 90s. I'm glad we did do this. It kind of switches things up, but it makes it right. And to go through it, to adjust, and we have, you know, so Karen, Marcia, you guys did a great job, and Dan, thank you all, and all the staff that had everything to do with it. And it makes the audit go a lot easier. We're getting faster at this audit. We're getting the information in. Like you said, we've had some control issues in the past. They've been so far in the past, we couldn't even think of a couple of them, Marcia. You and I were trying to think of them. We thought of a couple of them, but we're on the right track by basically moving forward, and we've done that for several years, so we appreciate you guys.
Well, we
Any other
appreciate
questions?
helping out.
Thanks, Frank.
You bet. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Do we need to, there's no action on this. It's just-
Well, you can't approve them, but you could make a motion to accept the reports. And so we have a
I'll go ahead and
record
do
of
that. I
it.
make a motion that we accept the report.
A second.
And I got a second by Councilwoman Ryder. And then we'll start with Vice Mayor Cronister.
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson. Yes. Councilwoman Ryder.
Yes.
Mayor White.
Yes. All right, let's take a recess out of the council. I'll take a recess. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Timmy?
We're going to go on to the El Reno Airport regular meeting call to order at 5:49. Roll call starting with Cronister.
Here.
Vice Chairman Ballhorn.
Here.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Ryder.
Yes.
Chairman Robinson.
Yes. Going to consent agenda, the following items are to be considered routine by the El Reno Airport Authority will be enacted with one motion. Shall the discussion be desired of any item, the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Number one, approval of the minutes of the January 9, 2018 regular meeting of the El Reno Airport Authority.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Roll call starting with Councilwoman Ryder.
Here.
Trustee White.
Here.
Vice
Yes.
Chairman Ballhorn.
Yes.
Trustee Cronister.
Yes.
Chairman Robinson.
Yes. We'll go on to discussion items. Discussion and consideration of possible action to move forward with the bidding process for T-Hanger construction.
Tim, if you don't mind, I was out there with Mr. Sandage, is that correct, Matt? Basically, the airport, Buddy, wanted to do a capital improvement project and start the process, basically, of going through the process of utilizing some of that money, the oil money, and figure out what we can and can't do. And they come up with a plan to put out to bid, basically some T-hangers. We are completely full on every one of our hangars out there in every one of our situations. So in doing this, you'll see as you go through, Mr. Chairman, they've gone over and looked at some of the increases, everything else. But basically, they're asking you to go forward with the bid process. It'll come back before us with a low bid. But, Buddy, I think our company's Lochner, and they're going to prepare the documents.
They're going to make sure that we're in line with our needs plus the requirements of the FAA.
Yeah. So they'll handle all the bid documents, everything else. We'll put that out to bid, and then we'll bring back the bids that we received for us to decide if we want to go forward or not. Does that make sense? Yes. So I'll make a motion at that point in time that we go ahead and authorize Buddy to go ahead and contact Lochner to get the documents ready to go out to bid as soon as we can.
Motion and second. Motion and a second. Roll call starting with Councilwoman Ryder.
Yes.
Trustee White,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ballhorn,
Yes.
Trustee Cronister,
Yes.
Chairman Robinson.
Yes. Let's move on to discussion, consideration, possible action to move forward with the bidding process of a 60 by 60 box hanger for storage and ground equipment.
But basically, Mr. Chairman, what this is that we have our equipment in one and some of the other spots of storage of our equipment. And what we're thinking is as we go out to bid, then we go ahead and do an alternate bid for a storage deal. Then we can have a shop out there and take our equipment out of the hangars and put planes in the hangars where they need to be. And then we could work out of a box hangar that we can rent later on, Buddy, out as a hangar if we wanted to, someone to work out of or whatever else we needed to. We'll get that alternate, go out to bid, bring it back to you all for your approval.
Make a motion to approve.
I second.
Got a motion and a second. Start with Councilman Cronister.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ballhorn.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yep.
Trustee Ryder.
Yes.
Chairman Robinson.
Yes. Go on to number 4, discussion, consideration of possible action to move forward with the bid process of rehabilitation of a roof on hangar number 2.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Galloway and Mr. Sange have worked on specs, and basically the same thing that Buddy, I was out there at the meeting that they discussed with the board. They want to take the older hangars, which was what I call the World War II hangars, Mustang Field, and they want to go and rehab those and get some bids on specs on stopping the leaks out there. We don't know if we can do all of them, what we can do, but we want to put it out to bid to see what we come back and bring it back for your approval.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Start with Ryder this time.
Yes.
Trustee White,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ballhorn,
Yes.
Trustee Cronister,
Yes.
Chairman Robinson.
Yes. And number 5 is discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve resolution number 18-021, a resolution establishing fees charged by the city of El Reno on the El Reno Air Park Authority for the El Reno services, recommending an increase in hangar rates.
Basically, Mr. Chairman, as we're going through this progress, we wanted to make sure I asked if we're going to go ahead and rehab all this, then let's see where we are currently. So we looked at and we got a lot of costs. Buddy did a great job about calling where we were. The board met and basically they did some increases on what they felt was fair for everybody else. We haven't had an increase up there in several years. So if we're going to do some capital improvement projects, we want to make sure that we raise the rates and we're staying competitive. So basically you'll see the current cost and then the recommended costs. I do say, if you don't mind, Mr. Galloway and myself, we were talking with Mr. Sandage, and we have some other things working. I would like to pull hangar 3 and 4 at this time. They're the main hangars, and they're just $1,000 to $1,300. We'd like to do some more comparisons, and Buddy agrees to that deal. The board recommended that. We're not saying they don't do that, but I'd like to go ahead and approve all of the other recommendations of rate changes, except hangar 3 and 4 until we get back with some more information. And I think we can do that within the next couple of meetings. Instead of tabling, I just want to just approve those other ones, and we'll bring the other ones back, 3 and 4. Is that right, Buddy?
Yes.
Matt? So I make a motion that we approve all of the recommendations that the Airport Advisory Board gave us with the cost increases of rent, excluding the cost increases they had on hangar 3 and 4, which are bulk hangars, and we bring that back. Have staff bring it back to recommendation.
Have a motion, need a second?
Second.
Motion second. Let's start with Cronister this time.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ballhorn.
Yes.
Trustee White,
Yes.
Trustee Ryder,
Yes.
Chairman Robinson.
Yes. Need a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Who's recreational?
I am.
Well, get in there, Bob.
Call meeting order. Roll call start with Ryder.
Here.
Trustee Robinson.
Here.
Trustee White,
Yes.
Trustee Cronister,
Here.
Chairman Ballhorn.
Here. Consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine by the El Reno Recreational Authority and will be enacted with one motion. Should discussion be desired on any item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Number 1, approval of minutes of the January 9th, 2018 regular meeting of the El Reno Recreational Authority. Number 2, approval of budget amendment for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2018 to record Ashbrook donation for beautification reimbursement from Signer on repairs and transfer in Christmas light donations.
Make a motion we approve.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Roll call starts with Cronister.
Yes.
Trustee White?
Yes.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ryder?
Yes.
Chairman Ballhorn?
Yes. Item D, discussion items. Discussion, consideration of possible action to purchase a fairway mower, rough mower, and bunker rake.
Bob, I think you were at that meeting with me and we went over some things. You might just share,
I think, was that not already budgeted in already and
Wasn't bothered.
No,
everything? So
we haven't budgeted, reported to the record.
Board, these equipment, the fairway mower, the rough mower, the
Budget, bunker,
rake from PK Equipment, John Deere, they are state bid items that we planned on, and we recommend.
pending council authorization to make that purchase.
I'll make a motion that we approve $87,000 to PK. Did you second, Tracy?
Yes.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call starts with Ryder.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee White?
Yes.
Trustee Cronister?
Yes.
Chairman Ballhorn?
Yes. Reports? Any reports? Adjournment?
I just mentioned from that meeting,
We're also working on other improvements out there. We've had some issues with control of pumps. We've got that all scheduled in the budget to get those fixed where we'll have less damage to our system. So we're excited about that. And with this equipment,
we should be in pretty good shape out there, so that's good.
One more thing we might want to make sure clear too. The board, we recommended, Kevin and I met before and with staff, but we've had a lot of complaints about the bar area out there at the restaurant being open. And, the city doesn't want to get into any kind of bar business or anything else. So, Mr. Galloway, with Mr. Galloway's help and silver tongued devil that he is, he contacted, the Signor group that contracts our restaurant service out and basically asked if they could keep and maintain their payment that they're going to carry on right now that goes to the golf course, and then also put out the bar area and the outside pavilion area out to bid. And Mr. Galloway and Mr. Sands are preparing right now an RFP, request for proposal, to request people if they want to run the bar area and run that outside area to manage that bar. And basically the restrictions we kind of put on there is a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for right now, and to see what they come back with and see what we can do. And you guys are preparing that right now, is that right?
Right, and we think we get some local proposals. I think local control knows the market better.
What we can do is we'll bring it out, we'll do the deal, and they're going to continue to pay the payments that they're doing, everything else. They're just going to allow us to put it out to bid, to let someone else do it, because we're not having much luck with them.
It'll be like a sublease or a sublet, correct? Similar to.
Basically, we're going to lease it out. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're going to allow us to take it off their deal and give it to somebody else.
Right,
A lease amendment that's being circulated.
right.
Dead.
Right.
How long is the lease with Signal?
But how long?
How long is their lease?
Right now, currently with Signal.
Yeah.
With the one we have right now, they're running the restaurant.
Yes, and they're paying us $4,500 a month lease.
How long?
How long?
Well, how long? It's a 5-year lease.
5 years.
But they've agreed to amend the lease, not dollar-wise, but to remove some of the property so we can lease it separately. I would expect we will have the amended lease on your March agenda. And it'll be effective March 1 if I get all the things worked out and signed. And then we will be opening RFPs or proposals shortly after that.
Which none of that'll be changing the time frame of the release or any of that stuff. It'll just be amendments to their lease.
Yeah. All right,
Motion for adjournment.
so move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Good.
It's now 6 o'clock, and I now call the Reno Hospital Authority regular meeting of Tuesday, February the 13th to order. Start off roll call with Trustee Ryder.
Here?
Trustee Robinson? Yes. Trustee Ballhorn?
Here.
Vice Chairman Cronister.
Here.
Chairman White.
Here, go on consent agenda, the following items being considered routine by the El Reno Hospital Authority, being acted with one motion. Should discussion that be desired, that item be removed from the time, the consent agenda, and considered separately. Number one, approval of minutes of the January 9th, 2018 regular meeting of the City of El Reno Hospital Authority. And number two, approval of budget amendments for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2018, to record budget for Reese Associates and Site Point contracts concerning the micro hospital project. And number three, approval of claims requiring trustee authorization for the period beginning January 1st, 2018 and ending January 31st, 2018.
Make a motion we approve.
I have a motion for approval.
Second.
Second, roll call vote, start with Ryder.
Here.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Trustee Ballhorn.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cronister.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Yes. Move on to number four, discussion items. Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve a fifth amended to the hospital lease agreement with Mercy Hospital El Reno, FTA Mercy El Reno.
Just quickly, a year ago, we had to renew the lease starting in July. At that time, we expected that by the end of the calendar year, we would have the lease worked out for the new hospital being built. But we're still working on the costs for that hospital project, so we weren't able to get it done by the end of the year. The lease said that if we didn't get the lease in place, it would make an adjustment on December 31st. Our schedule's changed, and we really need to make that trigger date June 30th. And by June 30th, we should have all of the hospital's new construction under contract. We should have the financing in place and a new agreement signed with Mercy. So this is just to extend that trigger date from December 31st to June 30th, and I'm convinced we'll have all the hospital project in that time frame.
Make a motion we approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Roll call vote, start with Cronister.
Yes.
Trustee Ballhorn.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Trustee Ryder.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Yes. Motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. 6:03, I now call the El Reno Municipal Authority regular meeting of Tuesday, February 13th to order. We'll start off with roll call with trustee Cronister.
Here.
Trustee Ballhorn.
Yep.
Trustee Robinson. Trustee Ryder.
Here.
Chairman White.
We'll move on to consent agenda. The following items were considered routine by the municipal authority will be enacted with one motion. Should discussion be desired on that item will be removed from the consent agenda, considered separately. Number one, approval of minutes, the January 9th, 2018 regular meeting of El Reno Municipal Authority. Number two, approval of budget amendments for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2018 to appropriate funds for remaining expenses on automatic meters, overlay projects on Roberts, Allison, Ash, Dwayne, Dilly, Holbrook, and transfer funds from Evans Road Fund and record Brennan Tag escrows for radio road work, budget for street work in Britton Road, on Britton Road, and water reuse project, change order, record 2013 sales tax revenue interest. Number three, approval of claims, required trustee authorization for the period beginning January the 1st, 2018 and ending January 31st, 2018.
Make a motion we approve.
Do I have a motion to approve? Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, roll call vote, start with Ryder.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Trustee Ballhorn.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cronister.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Abstain. We'll move on to E. Discussion, consideration, possible action to pay off hotel motel revenue sales note, taxable series 2015 on March 1st, 2018. Payoff of March 2018 will be $382,764.05 or less, depending on what the deal is. Basically, we had the note with all the, Tracy, when we had that, the roof deal, and we had to come back and do all that stuff at the movie theater. We had to fix all that with the wall blowing out, and we had to come back and do all that. We took a note out for that to fix all that. We have money in the bank, and I just asked Marcia and Dan if we'd go ahead and pay it off. There's no sense in paying interest if we can pay it off, so we'll go ahead and pay it off. That's what I'm asking.
Make a motion we approve the paying off the note in the amount of $382,764.05 or less.
Or less, okay. Good.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Roll call vote, start with Ryder.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Trustee Ballhorn.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cronister.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Yes. Move on to 5, discuss consideration possible action to accept bid from Schwartz Paving to mill stabilize overlay selected streets across the city limits. Jeff, basically, this is what we've been working on. It's coincide with what the award that we already gave on the contracts, but we're going to do the streets out by behind Montana Mike's. Half of I call it the Holbrook edition. Most of that edition is concrete, but there's the first 3 streets, La Villa and Estate, is that right? That are asphalt. They're going to mill those up and overlay those and correct that water problem right down there. And that'll tie on to getting Britton Road overlaid or redone, and Foreman Road, the first mile of all that, and then all the other streets that you had on that project. Is that correct? Yeah. We had this bid several months ago. It went out, and that was a successful bidder, low bidder.
Make a motion approved.
You got a motion approved?
Second.
You got a second? Roll call vote start with Cronister.
Yes.
Trustee Ballhorn.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Trustee Ryder.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Abstained? Motion carries. We'll go on to 6, discuss consideration, possible action to award bid for Highway 81 gravity sewer improvements, project number I-13 to JTM Services. Basically, Jeff, this is a project that coincides, Dan, with the ODOT project on 81 Bridge, the new bridge they're putting over Tracy where the water tower is. Bob, okay. And we've already approved the plans on all the other stuff, but there's a sewer line that they're going to include in that. They're going to pay $40,000 of that 80, and we got to pay the other $80,000. But it's been a collapsing line that we've done, that we've had problems with for 25 years. So they're going to
It's a good opportunity. The state's going to pay for a larger section we would have had to pay otherwise because of their project, and so it's an opportunity to get the whole thing for a lot less money.
Motion approved.
Got a motion?
Second.
Got a second? Or roll call start with Ryder.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Trustee Ballhorn.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cronister.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Abstain? Move on to 7, discussion of possible action, resolution 18-0119, establishing utility fees and providing an effective date. Okay, I got the key players here, Kim, Dustin, and Koba. But basically, we needed to look at the utility fees. These are on new impact fees as far as the meters and some other things. Is that correct, Dustin? This isn't on regular households that we have currently right now. These are fees that we haven't looked at in how long, Dustin? 1978. So we thought we'd check it out and see where we're at. and really we weren't too far off, but we just adjusted and we looked at all these and raised these up to what our neighbors in anywhere from Calumet to Oklahoma City to Yukon and everything else. And we basically, Kim, really appreciate all your help and what you contributed to that deal. We really, we needed to do this for a long time, haven't we, Kim? You and I discussed it for, me and Jeff, we discussed it for about 3 years that we needed to look at it. And the problem is we're getting all these businesses in here, and last month, we issued 48 permits, building permits. Is that correct, Dustin? And about 3 years ago, that was for 1 month. And 3 years ago, the whole year was 48 permits. So we need to grow with the city, and as we grow, we need to make changes to what we're doing.
We had some
Percentage of
gaps, and there
increase.
was kind of inconsistencies, and I think this is really, really good. And then I just want to repeat it, this doesn't affect any existing residents or businesses, nothing, no change on their rates. This is just the connection and impact fees for new construction that has to hook onto our system.
We're getting this housing, this new deal in here, where we might as well start charging what other cities are charging and doing that.
Fair price.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Tracy, did you say something?
So this is a one-time fee, not a monthly
It's just an
fee?
adjustment. We're just adjusting.
Adjustment.
We're taking like say a big business comes in, Tracy, and a regular meter, a big meter for like a 3-inch connection, we charge a certain amount for. We charge that since 1978. Now that we got these new meters that we got about a year ago, we're paying more money for those, so we adjusted those fees based on what the costs are around us.
Yeah, it's a one-time fee for that business to connect, and then after that, they'll just pay the normal rates of everything.
Good, okay.
Make a motion to approve.
A second.
Okay, I got a motion approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
I got a second by Tracy. Roll call, let's start with JT.
Yes.
Trustee Ballhorn.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
Yeah.
Trustee Ryder.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Yes, and before I do that, Kim, Jeff, Dustin, you guys did a great job with this, and thank all three of you. I mean that. I mean, I know that Jeff put a lot of work in there, what our costs were. Dustin did a great job with spreadsheets. Kim took all of her nodule and adjusted both of what those two said. So it was a great partnership. Thank you guys really for doing that. I
Should we
really
declare
appreciate
this an
that.
emergency or anything?
No,
Or
I'm
can
glad
we?
you said that. It's a resolution we don't have to do.
Oh, okay.
And does this, yeah, this doesn't affect, this is the other deal. This, it's a resolution, is that correct? Okay.
This is a resolution, and there should be an effective date on the resolution.
Okay.
No. It's left blank.
Okay?
Well,
You guys can set. a
now, it'll be fine, it'll be 30 days from now if it's not regular business, so that's fine. Well, unless you want to declare emergency, we can do it right now.
Extra 30 days work.
Let's do it, do it.
Make the motion to declare an emergency. Can we do that?
Can't do an emergency, you can set an effective date.
Yeah,
Set the
yeah,
effective date to today?
March 1st.
I'd say March 1st is a good time.
Okay, March 1st. They're still making us.
That's my suggestion.
2 weeks, aren't they,
2
JT?
weeks
I
worth of
know.
fees.
It's all right. March 1st.
Yeah.
All right.
Second. Yeah, whatever.
Who was my motion? Cronister?
Cronster was.
Oh,
Who was
yeah.
my second?
I was.
So the effective date will be March 1st.
2018. Nine.
Okay,
Do you want a roll call on it?
roll call, start with, if you don't yell at me like that, roll call with Cronster,
Yes.
Trustee Ballhorn.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
like I like your
Trustee Ryder.
tone.
Yes.
Chairman White.
Yes, Ernie, I don't know if I like her tone she's using with me. Motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion by Cronister and a second by Ballhorn. Better get in there, Robinson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. I now reconvene out of recess. Is that right, Raj? Yes. To our city council meeting, the regular meeting of Tuesday, February the 13th. Let's move on to D, the consent agenda. The following items will be considered routine by the Reno City Council and act with one motion. Should that discretion be desired on that item will be removed from consent agenda, considered separately. Number one, approval of minutes, January 9th, 2018, regular meeting of El Reno City Council. Number two, approval of minutes, January 25th, 2018, special meeting of El Reno City Council. Number three, approval of interlocal agreement with the Canadian County Sheriff's Office for the purpose of receiving deputization cross-commission authority for full and sworn police officers of the El Reno Police Department. Number four, approval of purchase of the 2018 F-550 cab chassis 4x4 crew cab pickup on the state contract from Bob Moore Ford LLC for $40,651. Approval of the budget amendments for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2008 to appropriate funds for library donations, bulletproof vests, grant and reimbursements on insurance for the fire, phone, traffic control supplies, electrical repairs, One Oak, easement diversification land management for the seismograph work, Morgan credit card rebate set up for budget for 2015, H&M loan payment budget for tourism, advertising, and economic development, capital improvement projects, record now new revenues from 911 tax, state forfeitures, juvenile court fines, drug and alcohol fees, impound fees, donation, Legion Park lights, animal shelter care and share budget for the City of El Reno safety improvement, and the street overlay projects on Robinson, Allison, Keith, Ash, Kavanaugh, Dwayne, Dilly, Holbrook, Foreman, youth football field, surface Radio Road, Brenner Tag project transfer funds to Radio Road to cover engineering on Britton Road improvements, water refuge project, change order budget and police vehicle replacement due to loss of vehicle. This is all just housekeeping, but it's pain. I'll let you know. Number six, approval of claims requiring a council authorization for the period beginning January 1st, 2018 and ending January 31st, 2018. Do I have a motion? I can't do that anymore. Partridge in a pear tree. Do I have a motion for approval? I got a motion by Ryder. I got a second by Cronister, and we'll start with Ryder. Oh, I'll
Yes.
tell you what, if you don't mind, can I pull five?
Yeah.
And then, Ryder, you approved 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. Is that correct? Okay. Ryder made a motion, second by JT. Start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson.
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cronster.
Yes.
Mayor White.
Yes. All right, on 5? Do I make a motion, or do I have a motion for approval of 5?
Yeah, and also notice the typo on the agenda. It says June 30th, 208 instead of 2018.
Okay.
But yeah, motion for approval.
208. Dustin probably did that and messed that up. Thanks a lot, Dustin. Okay, I got a motion, second by Robinson. Roll call start with Cronister
Yes.
with the correction.
Councilman Ballhorn.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson.
Yes.
Councilman Ryder.
Yes.
Mayor White.
Abstain. Move on to E, audience participation. Anyone having an item of business to present to City Council that does not appear on the agenda, please come forward to the podium at the time and state your name. You're required to limit your presentation to 3 minutes. Any of the item must pertain to the City of El Reno business. Is there anyone? 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 Move on to item number 8, to conduct a public hearing in consideration of a request submitted by Kyra Escott on behalf of Jeff Koba, Kathleen Chance, Ernest Baumhoff, and Joanne Baumhoff to amend the zoning classification on a tract of approximately 88 acres located east of Alphaville Road, northeast Highway 66, part of the Southwest Quarter, Southwest 4, Section 14, Township 12, North Range 7, west of the Indian Meridian, Canadian County, Oklahoma, from rural agriculture A1 to moderate I2. I now consider this public hearing open. Dustin, this was brought before the Planning Commission, is that correct?
Yes.
And there was some neighborhood people that came up. And the bottom line is, Dustin, we're looking at proposed zoning. There was a couple of questions of what they could and couldn't do. And there are 2 items that we need to discuss, and that is the changing of it, and then also the current, what I call the 66 corridor. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Explain that to me quickly.
Before I do, I want to make certain of something that was missing from the staff report that needs to be mentioned. In the Municipal Planning Commission recommended approval of this with conditions made possible from Chapter 361, Section 77F, contained in the sensitive border standards, to allow the governing body to make additional conditions on zoning where it would affect, or where sensitive borders would affect residences nearby, and the additional condition that they requested is for any outdoor storage that would be along the frontage of Highway 66 there to be screened in some description, in some manner. Now to go back to your question, you asked about the change of the zoning, and then the second thing that you asked about was, remind me, Matt.
You just answered it.
Okay, there it is.
I'm ahead of you. Go ahead, though. That's all right.
Okay.
You're doing good.
All right. The request in zoning change was to go from A1 to I2. I2 is considered moderate industrial in our zoning category. The Southeast Industrial Sub-Area Plan calls for a future land use of light industrial in that area. But it is important to note that at the time that that plan was accepted by council, that light industrial I1 at the time was less restrictive than I2 is now. And there was a lot of discussion at the Planning Commission about whether to go with, or whether to recommend an I1 zoning or an I2 zoning, and the consensus was made there that the best idea was to use 36177F to allow the uses in I2, which would be an I2 zoning with that additional condition of screening there. Also, because it is in the Route 66 corridor plan, any development that's going to be there that's going to face Highway 66 is going to be subject to additional landscaping and signage standards.
All right, let's stop right there for Dustin. JT, you jump in there. You were there this time, weren't you?
I'm there most of the time, Matt.
But you weren't there last time when we had a lot of problems we had to bring back up.
I had fallen ill, sir.
For the record, but anyway. The bottom line is, what we're talking about right now, Dustin, JT, is where it says A1 across the road there with the IRE, everything around there is already zoned either I1 or I2 currently and whatever else.
You can see the different shades of purple
Sure.
there.
I think the main thing, the housing development is located there at the R1 situation right there. They do have a buffer zone of commercial where the Jehovah's Witness church is that correct?
That's correct.
And they have a buffer zone. I think they were concerned, and I think some of that was addressed, and I'm kind of asking that. Chief, you might have, because you're one of the neighbors, but the bottom line is, because of sensitive borders that JT pointed out and everything else, they have to put some screening or the materials has to be in the back. And we've already notified some of those people currently that are out there that they have to do that. Is that correct?
That's also correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
to sum it up, to sum it up really easily, I think, is that because of that residential estate, that little sliver of pink right there,
Yep.
it triggered the sensitive border standards. And so when that happened, basically you can zone this thing I2, which allows you to develop it like an I2 with this, as far as like lot coverage and things of that nature. However, it has to perform like an I1 does now. So it's performing like an I1 in regard to like noise and nuisance and lighting and all those good things, but it's zoned I2, which allows some I2 use. So all we did was add the additional stipulation on the south parcel to basically put a screen, site-proof fencing there if there's outdoor storage.
And that allows
That's pretty-
the Baumhoffs and the Cobas and the other, and the Chance maid lady, it allows them to go ahead and put this property on the market, and it'll set up the standards to where Mrs. Escott at that point in time can explain those. And we're through the process. We're working on one right now that we're about ready to finally sew up that we've been working on sensitive borders currently. So I think the neighborhood was halfway satisfied, and they're not here.
Yeah, no, and that's why, the concern was not only the Route 66 corridor,
Sure.
but what was gonna be there, and the staff has been real good, because there are some other, that are I-1 right there that aren't adhering to that storage out front and everything, and although we would have preferred an I-1 working like they did at the planning commission, I think they're perfectly satisfied, because what you're looking at in the darker is actually CAR. The residential goes all the way back to I-40, although there's only 20 houses now or whatever in the future. So that's kind of what
Sure.
the concern was, just being able to see that
Sure.
across the street, and of course the noise. And we knew it was a time-sensitive issue, so they could get it on the market. And I think although I wasn't here, the neighborhood president was here, and he was good with it.
Well, and I think the main thing is that I spoke to Mr. and Mrs. Baumhoff, and I've spoke to Mrs. Chance, I've spoke to Mr. Koba, and the main concern is they lived out there in this area. They don't want to, they lived out there, and even though some of them sold their property and whatever else, they want to make sure the neighborhood is conducive to what they're doing. They want to be fluent with what's in the neighborhood, and they want to be able to sell their property. So it's a win-win for everybody, JT, don't you think?
Absolutely.
All right, any other questions? Dustin, thank you.
You got it?
Any other questions? Any other comments? Any other questions? I now consider this public hearing closed. We'll go on to B, discussion, consideration, and possible action on ordinance number 9135 submitted by Kyra Escott on behalf of Jeff Koba, Kathleen Chance, Ernest Baumhoff, and Junior Baumhoff to amend the zoning classifications on a tract approximately 88 acres located east of South Alphabet Road, northeast Highway 66, part of Southwest Quarter, Southwest 4, Section 14, 12, Township 12, North Range 7, west of Indian Meridian, Canadian County, Oklahoma, from rural A1 to moderate I2, and declaring emergency.
Make a motion we approve.
Second.
What do you need, Dustin?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, with the condition that in the south property, is that descriptive enough? That there is no outdoor storage unless it is screened from the view of 66.
Okay. Fair enough.
Second.
I got a motion and a second.
Thanks,
Roll
Dustin.
call vote, start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yeah.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cronster?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Absolutely.
Make a motion to declare an emergency.
I got a motion to declare emergency.
Second.
I got a second. Roll call vote, start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cronster?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. Have at it. Thank you, Joanne. All right, we'll move on to number 9. Conduct a public hearing. Consider amending permitting uses of Block 2, Block 1, Block 3, Lots 2 and 3, platted Southern Hill, PUD, to include hospitals and related medical services. The application was submitted by the City of El Reno, subject to the property located South 27th Street in the part of North Half Second, Section 20, Township 12, North Range 7, west of Indian Meridian, Canadian County, Oklahoma. The bottom line is that I now consider this public hearing open. The City of El Reno, which is us, we created a PUD, which is a Planned Unit Development, Tracy. And one thing we did not, even though we named the street Mercy and we had every intention, guess what's not included allowed in that PUD? It's just a hospital. So in order, we're going to blame that on Rivera. So,
Good idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea. So basically, with us doing our due diligence going forward and getting this hospital deal sewed up, we needed to go ahead and make sure this is zoned for a hospital. And what we're doing is, and Dan did a great job with adding the medical in there too, because right across the street where that circle area is, proposed PUD amendment, that's where the clinic is going to go. So, and I'm going to state right now, I saw the first proposal of the hospital. Guys, it's nice, and it's going to look nice. So it'll all flow together. So, any questions on this? Was there any complaints on this, Dustin?
No.
Was there anybody protest this, Dustin?
You spent longer on it than the planning commission did.
All right. Planning commission.
Oh, that's a record.
Dustin. I'm gonna introduce you to Chief Brown before this whole deal's over with. And I'm gonna explain about two things you were already over your boundaries, but we're gonna get to that here in a little bit. You watching him, Brown? Okay. All right. So I got a motion.
Close the hearing.
Okay. Are there any other complaints besides Dustin? I now say we close the public hearing. We'll move on to discussion, consideration, possible amending the permitting uses of Block 2, Lot 1, Block 3, Lot 2, 3, and the platted Southern Hill PUD to include hospitals, related medical services, application submitted by the City of El Reno. The subject property is located south 27th Street, part of North Half, Section 20, Township 12, North Range 7, west of Indian Meridian, Canadian County, Oklahoma.
Make a motion we approve.
Thank you, Bob.
Second.
Thank you, JP. Roll call start with Tracy.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cronister?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. Move on to 10, discussion, consideration, possible action to approve payoff hotel motel revenue note, taxable series 2015, March 1st, 2018 payoff March 2018, which would be $382,764.05 or less.
Make a motion we approve per authority?
I got a motion per authority.
Second.
I got a second. Roll call vote start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cronister?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Tracy.
Do you know what the interest and savings will be if I pay that off early?
Yes.
About $70,000 over the life of the loan.
Sounds good.
I did good, didn't I?
Yeah.
All right. Move on to 11, discussion, well, hang on, did I do that right? Would everybody vote? Okay. Number 11, discussion, consideration, possible action to accept bid from Schwartz to mill, stabilize, overlay selected streets across the city limits.
Motion we approve.
I got a motion.
Second.
Second, roll call vote start with Cronister.
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Ryder?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Abstain? We'll move on to 12, discussion, consideration, possible action to accept proposal quote from Cooper Creek Manufacturing Incorporated for fabrication and installation of brush pumper, bed, skid, unit, and all associated equipment. Basically, we got a bid for about $59,000. Is that correct, Kent? And usually we've been looking at about $79,000?
Yeah, the state bid is actually 71.5, and we got a quote. And normally, if we have a quote on something less than state bid, we just buy it. But my authority is limited to 50, so this is 59. It's going to save us $12,000, but I'm requesting the council authorize the purchase.
Make a motion we approve.
Motion, Tracy?
Yes.
Second, Tracy. Roll call vote start with Cronister.
Yes.
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn? Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Ryder?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes, oh yes. Number 13, discussion, consideration, possible action to approve a special event alcohol beverage permit for El Reno Main Street for the sale of Low Point beer at the Burger Day Festival in downtown El Reno. Colin, this is the last permit we're going to ever issue you guys on this permit. Do you understand that? No, the reason why I said that is because they're not going to issue any more permits with the change in state law. I just want to.
There won't be any low point beer.
There won't be any low point
It'll
beer
be a
anymore.
new
so-
kind of
It'll be
permit.
6 points.
So I just wanted to say that and scare the hell out of you, so I'm glad I did that. And you were a little scared there for a minute. I make a motion, we approve. I got a second by Ryder. That's what he did to me today.
Yeah.
I said, really, why would we do that? I got a second by Cross. Roll call vote, start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cronister?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Oh, yes. Number 14, discussion consideration possible action, ordinance number 9136, ordinance amending sections, amendment section 334-19-.1 and 334-41, Articles 4, 5, Chapter 334, 334, Articles 4 and 5, Chapter 334 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of El Reno pertaining to utility service connection fees is amended, declaring repealing provided for severability and declaring emergency. Okay, this is the same thing we did, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, this is for the impact fees and the taps, everything else that will not affect current users.
That's correct. What this really does is it changes, it cleans the code up to make it look like you're allowing what we're asking for in the resolution.
Okay,
This authorizes the permit to charge those fees, so it's good.
Make a motion, we approve.
I got a motion.
Second.
You got a second? Roll call vote, start with Cronister.
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Ryder?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes.
Make a motion, declare emergency.
Is that a motion, declare emergency?
Second.
Second by Robinson this time. Roll call start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cronister?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. Number 15, discussion consideration possible action to approve number 18, 019, a resolution stating utility fees provided for effective date. Same thing.
Make a motion, we approve.
This will take,
For authority.
this
This will take effect March 1st?
March
Yes.
1.
and then you want to say that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Is it the authority?
Is it per authority?
Yeah,
Didn't have
you
an
say
asterisk.
for the authority.
Well,
It's the same one.
I know, but it doesn't have an asterisk. So I don't know who's preparing these agendas, but it does not have an asterisk. So I just want to point that out. That's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Roll call vote start with Cronister.
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Ryder?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. Number 16, discussion consideration possible action, approval resolution 18 through 20, a resolution establishing building and development fees and providing an effective date. Okay, is this building permits? This is different.
Yes, this is not the utilities. This is building permits. This is mechanical, electrical, plumbing,
Okay.
demolition, stuff like that. Yeah.
Have we sent this out? Have we sent a letter out?
Yes.
150 letters.
Have we received any letter? Have we received any questions back?
I think I've gotten one question, and they were, after I explained it, they were okay with it.
How long have the letters been out?
About a week.
And we also advised that this would be effective April 1st, I
This is
believe.
April, effective April 2.
Because we wanted to give the builders and the builders and the tradespeople a little more notice.
Well, if we miss something, and I think we talked about this, that's why I got my notes say April 2nd. We didn't want to do it on April 1st because I think that would be a joke.
Right. April 2nd.
Yeah, April 2nd. We didn't want to do it, that'd be that Monday. Really, we discussed that. But basically, with it, this is the same type deal on services. We haven't looked at this in how long, Dustin? 80s.
Probably, yes.
And these are basically, and what we're doing is we're raising the rates on building fees, inspection fees, and we figure these raises will include enough to basically be able to hire another inspector. And that's what we need to do. Bob is part-time, and we need to do that. So we're saying that these generating fees that will do that. We want to go ahead and make this, what we're trying to do is go ahead and ask this effect. They're going to get the letters out. If there's something that we missed, stepped, or whatever else, we can always bring it back up to the council before April 2nd. That gives us a little buffer to correct something that we messed up. We went over it with a fine-tooth comb. It's all kind of what we discussed. Does that make sense?
Have those fees already been established, the new fees?
The new fees have already been established during your packet.
In your packet.
Yep.
And Dustin's done a real thorough job of checking all the other communities and surrounding areas. This is market or below market. We are not overcharging anybody.
We're not above anywhere.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Make a motion we approve.
We got a motion we approve?
Second.
We've got a second. Roll call vote, start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cronster?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes, and our full intention is to use this revenue to hire another inspector. Because we're
We need
busy.
one.
So,
And that's with an April 2nd effective date?
Yes.
yes, April 2nd.
The resolution
It's in the, that was in the resolution. All right, we'll move on to number 17. Discussion and consideration possible action to purchase the Route 66 monument and associated site improvements. Okay, if you look up here, I got something pretty exciting for you. What we have done, if you Google, stop right there. If you Google El Reno, Oklahoma, what usually comes up is a tornado and the pictures of the tornado, really. And if Tracy, you might be familiar with it, but down at Oklahoma City at Wheeler Park, if you get on any kind of Facebook, you see people take pictures with the big OKC. You know what I'm talking about? The kids climb on there, they get on there. If you Google OKC, it shows up that image. We have a lot of travelers that come through here in El Reno, Oklahoma. We have a location lot, and Roger and I went out there with the designer. I got in touch with Hugh Mead, who's the one that built and designed the big OKC through Premier Craft Fiberglass in Oklahoma City to basically come up with this statue right here, Tracy. And what this is for our travelers as they come through Route 66 for them to stop and take pictures. What we've done, and Heather Brothers and Matt's done an excellent job, we did associated things. We're going to have a bench, a trash can around there, is that correct? And we're going to have green fake turf around the area that you go up there. You'll be able to get inside the 66 and take your picture inside of it. You'll be able to climb on top of there. We're going to put that, there's a foundation that goes in there, Timmy, that holds that whole structure. The back of it will show basically, it'll be a solid back with another, it says, Welcome to El Reno for another feature. We're going to have a set of lights that shine on it at night that can do LED lights and change that. It's going to be approximately about 14 foot tall. It'll be cat-a-corner from Sid's. It'll be a neat little deal. There'll be ballards around there where motorcycles to come in and take pictures. We're really pretty excited about it. And go ahead, Dan.
I just wanted to remind everybody the location. I think it's a great location. We already have the Preservation Society has the Rock Island Caboose. Now this is and the Chisholm Trail comes through this area. This particular site, I think we can easily say, is the junction of the original Rock Island line, Route 66, and the Chisholm Trail. And if we capitalize on that corner with this, I think we begin to identify three major parts of El Reno's history right there. I think it's a great start on that project.
And I'm going to tell you, I got the idea based on when I went on my trip with my wife, when we went down and we got up at 8 o'clock. We drove down 66 to Vegas, and we got up at 8 o'clock in the morning to go see, standing on the corner of Winslow, Arizona, off of an Eagle song. And there was absolutely about 40 people down there waiting to take a picture down that corner. Summertime, people travel all the time. We need to capitalize that. We need to get people downtown. This is a downtown project, part of our deal we're trying to kind of roll out for summer and kind of get things going. We should be done before Burger Day, be able to do that. There really hadn't been anything in there except that people park cars in there to put for sale. So we're still going to establish a parking lot beside there where people can pull in and people at the bank can park. So we're not going to allow anything. We think it's a good spot. It's a good deal.
So we're going to have a monument and a fountain before Burger Day.
It's going to be great. We're excited. We're trying to do some things downtown. It's what the city does, and we're excited about it. So it's been bringing a lot of people.
You can climb on top of this too?
Basically, what we've done is we're not encouraging it, but basically,
High, that's really high.
but they're going to. And what we've done, we've made this structure to where it
rigid and safe.
It's rigid and safe, and we're putting the plastic and there's foam. Is that correct, Matt? There's a foam mat on the outside. Now,
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Not concrete, not gravel.
Sign a disclaimer before playing.
Yeah.
Once again, we have a lake and we have other things. So
Not
but anyway, but
Spray some Crisco on there.
yeah, we'll see. They
won't climb up there.
We'll grease the deal.
Yeah.
But what a neat deal! I think it'd be great. And the artist and I worked this up, and it's kind of a neat art project. I'm going to turn this into some of the art stuff that we're doing.
So, and this is made of fiberglass, did you say?
It is, Tracy.
Okay, good. So
and the reason why we close the back end, we got a cheaper price if we close the back end. And we were gonna leave it hollow at one time, but it established that we could close the back end, so.
Makes it much more rigid.
More rigid.
And safer.
And people are gonna climb up there, they're gonna take their senior pictures up there, you're gonna have all kinds of things. Be kind of exciting. Okay? All right, I make a motion, we approve.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Roll call vote start with, is there any other pictures, Ally? Did I miss anything? That was it, okay. Make a motion and a second. Start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cronister?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. Move on to 18, discussion consideration possible action. Authorize Grubb Consulting to design and construct a residential street on City of El Reno property adjacent to Lake El Reno Water Tower. You got a picture of that, Ally? Basically, we were approached, you can see the water tower. We were approached by a company that has a current contract. They're trying to close on some land back behind our RV park beside the man camp. And you're not going to believe, but there are people wanting to put a beautiful, nice housing addition back behind there. And they love it. They're excited about it. So they want to build a road, which they would, and on our easement, and dedicate it back to the City of El Reno like we would anything else. We're out zero cost. We're out zero money. We're just going to allow them to build the road, to come around and widen the road out around by the lake to the RV park, and to go into that property to where they can get in there and develop that housing addition.
And what I asked them to do is to submit to us.
It's a dirt road there. Timmy, when we were kids, we used that road to go across. You know what I'm talking about, Tracy? It's right behind the, Bob, you know where I'm at? Yeah, okay. I mean, it's where the police officers, where they sneaky peek up there and get you around the corner. But anyway, it's a good deal. We don't know for sure it's going to go through, but we want to go ahead and give them the easement. If it goes through, then they'll do that. Is that correct, Dan?
Right, yeah, we're the beneficiary of a brand new street, it'd be ours, but what I had them do is lay it out and define the legal area which is in this agreement. And I did that so we were specifically authorizing a private company to do this work on city property with the provision when it's finished to our standards, they dedicate it to us. And then we'll make it a permanent easement.
Make a motion for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second? Roll call vote, start with JT.
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Ryder?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. Number 18, discussion consideration possible action, authorize, that's it. Number 19, discussion consideration possible action to authorize marketing campaign with the El Reno Tribune, KFOR, KOCO, and KWTV. Basically what you have here is we're doing this rollout El Reno. And what we are doing is, where's that? I just had it. Oh, here it is, right here, Dan. Got too much. Basically, we're partnering with Tribune Media. They're going to do the social media. We're going to have radio spots. We're going to have our TV spots for 3 months. We're going to focus on the 3 months period of what we're doing, and we're going to have everything from multiple newspaper magazines, websites. We're going to do OK 405 magazine, and they've done a whole proposal, brought it to Heather and I. We're even going to do things like this where you see, Tracy, where flashback, they're going to be in charge of flashback Thursdays, and that's Bobby Don Stevenson.
I
by the
like
way,
that picture, yeah.
And they're going to and Ed Metz, and do these kind of things. It's a way that basically you see all the different ads we're going to have here, and they're going to be billboards all over Oklahoma City. So we're trying to promote El Reno like we did last year, and we got the first phase of it coming out with all this rollout like we're going to do, and I'll show you a little bit more once I get everything on PowerPoint on our El Reno Now that we have. But we're excited about it, and it covers radio from Jake FM to all the other ones.
Will this roll out before Burger Day and stuff?
Basically, what we're going to do is start March the 1st, and Coba's involved in this also. He doesn't know it yet. He does know it. But what we're doing, Tracy, we're doing radio, ads, Bob, billboards, mail-outs, newspaper stuff, contests, and our staff, we're going to have all the banners put out.
Right.
All this is going to be in March and everything else, so then we can start through March, April, May, June, and July. Does that make sense? Yep. So we're going to start that process and start the TV ads, and I think they were real successful last year, and then we don't have the production cost of that, so it's kind of a neat deal. So we're excited about it. I make a motion, we approve.
Second.
I got a second. Roll call vote start with Cronister.
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Ryder.
Yes.
Mayor White.
Yes, we'll move on to number 20. Discussion, consideration, possible action, award bid, Highway 81 Gravity Sewer Improvements, Project 1, or I'm sorry, I-13.
Make a motion to approve per authority.
Per authority, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, roll call vote, start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson.
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Cronster.
Yes.
Mayor White.
Abstain. Number 21, discussion, consideration, possible action to approve a Fifth Amendment to the hospital lease, the city of Mercy El Reno.
Make a motion to approve per authority.
Per authority,
Second.
roll call vote start with Cronister.
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Ryder.
Yes.
Mayor White.
Yes. Financial report. Marcia, you've got a lot of praises tonight. What's going on with that?
None of it's done that.
It's we always like these audits getting done, don't we, Karen? And I'd like those people out of our hair a little bit. You all did a great job. Can't say it enough. Seriously, these audits are going, Marcia, Karen, twice as fast as we had to do before. Don't you both agree?
They are in all the departments, I will say, really help us with the information. We just collect it all year and it goes to it.
Yeah. Well, staff, you all did a great job with that. All right, reports. Tracy, you got anything?
Yes. Matt, do you have a report on the grant that you applied for?
It is the application period for the Safe Routes to School
Uh-huh.
grant. It's not going to open. I checked back with ACOG today. At spring of 2018 is when the application period will open, then we'll submit the application. So,
Okay.
so we can't submit it until it opens up, but we're certainly,
Gives you more time to work on it, huh?
it gives us more time to work on it.
Anything else, Tracy? Timmy?
No,
Bob?
Well, maybe. I talked to Dan the other day about possibly sending a letter to the railroad or whoever about the old building that's left down there on the north side of town, about seeing if they would, because of the safety and everything else involved, if they would consider to finish tearing it down. And he'd indicated that we could maybe do something with that, or at least send them a letter requesting that.
Sure.
Yeah, and I've done a little research on it. I think that property, that building on it may have been sold by the railroads to a private corporation. We may have more authority there than, but I am going to start working on
And
that.
Dan, if you check with me, I have a whole file on that.
Okay.
When it was a part of the Brownfields project.
Brownfield project.
City- city
Yeah,
was
you need some help, Dan. We got, me and Roger got the business on that.
But it's no longer owned by the railroad, I don't believe. So that, I
It was,
think,
at one time, it was owned by a guy in
He's
prison.
been in prison in Colorado with his son come up here. Anyway, it's a whole long story. Let's not get into that.
But
we'll open it up again.
It would be a good idea.
If I may, I have one other thing.
No, Tracy, you've already spoke. Yes, you can.
Well, what is the date that it's going to go out to be able to look into running the bar area?
Oh, this month,
This
you talking
month.
about the golf course?
Yes, the golf
They're
course.
gonna do the RFPs. You should have it done.
Together, it's going to go this next paper on Sunday.
Well, we've
Okay,
got-
because
we've
I've
got-
had a call about that.
We have too. I'm
Have
glad.
you?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
direct them to Matt, Tracy, because
Okay, good.
I tell you what, and now if Ray would start writing, I hopefully this will have, the problem is this, guys, the restaurant's one beast, and we had a hard time with that. The bar area is a little bit different, and they want, and I know the people out there in that neighborhood want that, and we want to be able to provide that to them. And I'm going to tell you, the budget-wise, we put a lot of money in that golf course, but with this company leasing us out, it's gonna give us about $70,000 that was taken out of the deal, and they're also paying 80%. And I don't think the public knows that as much. Now, we can't tell anybody how to run a restaurant. People say, well, that's not the way they like it, everything else. Well, a lot of people didn't like the way it was ran from whoever ran the restaurant. You're right, Tracy. I'm like you. I think we're going to have a lot more local people just do the bar area because it's more manageable and more controllable, we think, on that area. Hi, Mark. And we think that'll be more manageable and more appropriate on that area.
Good, maybe.
I have to be a little bit careful with the schedule. I've got I've talked to the owner of the Signor contract. Give me verbal agreement on the terms. Roger and I have been looking at Roger's review. We've got an amendment ready. I need to get them to sign it and bring it back to the council. We can go ahead and advertise for the RFP, but we can't actually contract that till we've got the amendment to the lease.
Right. And they're working on that verbally.
So we're scheduling all that together.
Okay.
But get with Matt, because I'm with you, a lot more people are doing it. Okay, Bob, that it?
That was it?
JT?
I got one thing. I think I want to try to look at, maybe Matt and Dustin and I can look at the Route 66 beautification, the overlay thing we did.
I like it.
Did we just overlay that to where the water tower is? Is that how far we went with that? Bring it in town. We never did that.
We discussed this a few years back, we discussed it coming all the way out, basically all the way out Sunset, from Sunset all the way through 66, through town. But we might want to revisit that and see.
Good to revisit that and revisit the standards that we have on the current overlay too, so maybe bring that back to you guys in the next few months.
All right, Mark, I don't normally do this, but are you up here about the reason? You did? Okay. But let me go ahead and tell you real quick, because I want to make sure, we started at 5:30, and we just got done with them, you just missed them. That's okay. But what we did was JT made Mark is in that RE area. What we were concerned with. His wife, they lived out there a long time, and they're in that area. They're just concerned with that. Basically what we did, Mark, there's a sensitive borders that they can't cohere to.
Yeah, I got that.
Okay, and that's, we zoned it, but they have to cohere to that sensitive borders deal based on your house.
Yeah.
So that's what we did.
Okay, that'll work.
Is that okay? I mean, it is what, I mean, it's, yeah, sure. But we're trying to help make it work.
As long as everybody follows the rules, I'm okay.
That's right. And I think that's what we did. If there's any questions, Dustin, make sure you get Mark's number before you leave. So, because you know, okay.
I've been talking to him.
Sure. I don't have anything. All right. Thanks, Mark. Sorry. I knew what you were up here about. I thought you showed up a little late. That's all right. Thank you, Mark. We'll move on to executive session. 23, consider convening an executive session pursuant to Oklahoma State Statutes, Title 25, Section 307B, 1, to discuss an appointment of a mayor and/or council members as acting city manager and take appropriate action in open session. Do I have a motion?
Yes, you do.
Second. Go to executive session. I got a motion second. Roll call vote start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cronister?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. I need a motion to come out of, are you ready yet? I need a motion to come out of executive session.
Make a motion?
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote start with Councilwoman Ryder.
Yes. Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cronister?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes.
Let's see, as a result of executive session, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Honorable Matt White as city manager from beginning effective date April 1st, 2018, and ending December 31st, 2018, without a motion to extend the contract. The contract will be obviously for no compensation, anything else, anything of that nature, and that's my motion.
I got a motion.
Second?
I have a second. Roll call vote start with Ryder.
Now, but that is until a city manager is hired.
Yes, with
But
the
not
intent
longer
of
than,
hiring a new city manager before the end of the year.
right,
Yeah,
okay.
I should have expressed that.
Whichever occurs.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yeah.
What was your motion?
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cronister?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Abstain? All right.
Make a motion for
Before we
adjournment.
do it, I want to tell everybody, I want to kind of state everything for the newspaper and everybody else. Basically, what we've done here is, we have a great staff up here, and we want to kind of explain what we've talked about. I'm going to be acting city manager come April, after Dan still helps us. Dan's still going to be on retainer till May, just to get some things sewed up. But we have Chief Brown, Chief Legali, of course, Matt Sandage, Jeff Koba, Marcia, and Lindsay are our core people. Everybody else, of course, is very important, but they can do the day-to-day operations. I am not interested in being a city manager. I'm doing this because it helps us find the right city manager at the right time and keep the continuity of what we have currently, so it doesn't throw our city or our staff in dismay. We've done a great job to continue going on. I want to continue that the way we've done it. I think we have a great core group. I think we have wonderful employees. I do not want compensation or not seek them. I am currently in several projects here in El Reno, building El Reno. I am currently in operations of a rock quarry and my personal business. I don't have time. The daily operations will be handled by those core groups, and further down, I'll be here hopefully on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons to help make some decisions that they asked me to make. But other than that, the city will be ran by the staff under our jurisdiction with me at the helm. Dan's done a great job. I think we're sitting in a great position to hire a city manager. We need to hire one by the end of the year, but this will allow us time to make some changes that staff feels needed, and as we go through the process of the current budget and some other things. So I applaud the staff. I applaud Dan and what he's done, and I think it'll be business as usual. And if you need something, I think those core people can handle that and be directed from there. Any other questions? Motion for adjournment. I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you all.